Hello and welcome to the second revision video on the American module. This second section is all about how different groups saw the American West between 1839 and 1860. This is all about expansion westwards for different groups during this time period, including white settlers, also the Mormons as well, and why these groups chose to move westwards during this time period. So the plains are known as the area in the centre of America, the sort of large open land that many white settlers before 1840 had seen as a place not worthy of moving to. It's kind of just like this vast empty space, this vast empty desert almost. On the plains though were large numbers of Plains Indians. One group in particular was the Lakota Sioux, and we'll talk about their life there in a moment. First of all, though, why it was so difficult to actually live on the plains? Well, as I've just said, these are large open spaces, so as a result, the lack of natural resources makes things very, very difficult. There is a lack of wood, there's also a lack of water. Other problems are with temperature. So during the summer, it can get well over 40 degrees, so extremely hot. During the winter, extremely cold. Temperatures plummet well below freezing as well. So life there is particularly challenging. Despite this, though, the Lakota Sioux do manage to survive there. So the key kind of aspects then of their life on the plains is that their life is all based or largely based around hunting the buffalo for food, but also for the skin and the hide of the buffalo. The hide of the buffalo is then used by the Lakota Sioux to make teepees, so movable homes, kind of almost tent-like homes that can be easily moved. The Lakota Sioux also had a particular set of beliefs. They believe in the Great Spirit. The Great Spirit controls kind of their destiny and what happens in their lives. I guess almost kind of like a religious kind of following. Society is broken up into smaller groups called bands. So usually about 10 people per band, and they work together, they look after each other. And finally, in terms of warfare, the Lakota Sioux often are fighting other Indian tribes and steal from them, steal horses, steal food, and fighting them for control of important hunting lands as well. The Lakota Sioux were particularly effective in war because they were skilled horsemen. Okay, so during this time period, then we see an increased number of white settlers travelling westwards. So before the 1840s, there was very few white settlers who make this journey, partly because of the conditions on the plains, but also because the area hadn't yet really been mapped out, so people didn't, know there weren't safe routes for them to necessarily travel on. This changes in the 1840s, and you get large numbers of people who are called overlanders, so people who literally travel over the land westwards. There's many reasons for this. There are some push factors, so the fact that life in the East is becoming more difficult, partly because of a banking collapse in 1837. Many people lost their businesses or lost their life savings. But also the East is becoming more and more crowded as more and more people move to America. As the population continues to grow, competition for land is becoming more and more fierce. The price of land is being pushed up. Therefore, the fact that there's all of this open space, this new land in the West, that's a push factor for people to move there. There are also pull factors too, so particular things that attract them now westward, so improved mapping, as I just mentioned. The addition of California as a state in 1848, again, huge area of land which isn't in the plains. Christian missionaries also believe that they need to go westwards and convert the Indians to Christianity, so they believe it's their kind of mission to do that. There's also adverts as well from various different companies encouraging people to move to the plains, advertising land for sale there, giving people a kind of idealistic view of what this journey would be like. In reality, though, the journey was exceptionally dangerous and difficult. It would take months and months for people to travel along. Many people don't survive the journey. Often people don't have the right equipment with them to survive the difficult climate that we've just discussed. Disease becomes a major problem, a lack of fresh water included in that. Accidents are common. People tend to travel on wagons. If a wagon breaks down or falls into ditches or holes in the ground, that kill people as well. The weather, as we've mentioned, and also these people were obvious targets to be attacked and robbed by the Indians. A group that does make the journey westwards, though, and rather successfully, are the Mormons. They leave the northeast of America, where they face religious discrimination, particularly around the practice of polygamy, so men having multiple wives. They're led by a man called Brigham Young, and they settle in a place called Salt Lake City in Utah. Part of the reason why this settlement is so successful is that the Mormons control the supply of water. So nobody is allowed to own water. It is there to be shared for the common good. The Mormons also build or dig an irrigation system to ensure that supplies of water get across the city, but also that crops can grow as well. The city itself is built on a model of Paris, with the Mormon temple at the centre of it. There's also two gold rushes that encourage people to move westwards. The first of which is the California Gold Rush of 1848, when gold is discovered there. Around 50,000 Americans travelled to California, encouraged by posters like you can see on the screen there. Around 50,000 people it is in 1849 that make the journey. As such, mining settlements spring up in California, in the area around the gold rush. However, these are very violent and dangerous places. They're quickly built. It's predominantly young men who are there. There's lots of gambling, there's saloons, lots of drinking, prostitution. Robberies and murders are common in these mining settlements as well. It's actually also really difficult too for individuals to make money. So lots of the 50,000 people that move or travel to California are individuals who think that this is an opportunity for them to strike it rich, for them to make lots of money. The people who do kind of probably do best out of this are the people who sell the equipment and tools for mining. Lots and lots of businesses set up to sell the things that people would need to mine. It's often larger companies, larger businesses that are able to make the money, partly because the actual removal of the gold from the rock requires large crushing machines that obviously individual people cannot afford or cannot buy. The gold rush has a huge impact, though, on the plains on the west. It ends up with more Indians being removed from the land. A law is actually passed that allows Indians that are on the land to be sold as slaves, sold into slavery. There's also a tax placed on any non-US miners that are in California. So migrants from Mexico and China, who were commonly found in California, cannot afford to stay. The tax just makes it impossible for them to stay. So this very much becomes an area now populated by white people. Population grows, as I mentioned, 50,000 people travel there. There is an agreement signed with the Indians called the Fort Laramie Treaty, which promises not to disrupt the Plains Indians' hunting rights and their way of life on the plains, although that is broken. And also in 1849, California becomes a free state as well, which causes tension that a piece of land as large as California now is a free state. And the last thing in this section is about the Pikes Peak Gold Rush of 1858 to 59. Gold is found at Pikes Peak, which is in the territory of Kansas. The land that is found on is Cheyenne Indian land, and over 100,000 migrants arrive there onto this land. As a result of all of these people coming for the gold rush, more and more people arrive to work in other industries to support this huge influx of people, particularly in food production and food sales. So the gold rush attracts people obviously for the gold itself, but then the knock-on effect of that is that more people arrive to make money out of the people who have moved there. So the territory of Kansas grows quite dramatically in this time period. These settlements in Kansas and also neighbouring Colorado break treaties with the Indians. So that Fort Laramie Treaty I've just mentioned on the last slide is not stuck to. So therefore, by this point, by 1858, 1859, it seems inevitable that there is going to be war and conflict between the white settlers travelling westwards and the Indian population that lived there.